recognize Senator Marcoleta, who had the floor before our colleagues suggested that we watch for ourselves. So we will be asking the OSA to identify who among those who were chasing Senator Bato were NBI agents.
Mr. President, we have seen it all. I think this is the best evidence that can prove that the good senator, our colleague in this institution, is being chased by authorities. I'm not sure where they got the authority to chase him, and incidentally, I think he's about to be captured by them for purposes of serving him or rendering him or even surrendering him to the ICC. I'd like to ask, Mr. President, what is the authority of the National Bureau of Investigation in executing, for example, even if for the sake of an argument that the ICC issued a warrant of arrest against Senator Bato? As far as I know, Mr. President, the counterpart of the Interpol, which is the serving arm of the ICC in executing warrants, the Interpol's counterpart in this country is PCTC, which is the Philippine Center for Transnational Crimes. And I check that it is now it used to be under the Office of the President and under the control and supervision of the NAPOLCOM. But I think it's now under the control of the DILG. So my question is, how come that the NBI is chasing Senator Bato for an apparent warrant of arrest, which the former Senator Trillanes has been showing around that he got a warrant of arrest and he is personally serving it to the senator? The first question is former Senator Trillanes now the sheriff of the ICC? And he has been working with the Interpol, Mr. President. This is all questionable. As I said earlier, Mr. President, this is not only an assault to our colleague, but principally it is an assault, an insult to this institution. Hindi natin pwedeng palampasin ito, Mr. President. We need to protect the senator. As I said earlier, and I manifested that Trillanes himself was a beneficiary of this institution's security. Humingi po siya ng Senate Protective Custody nung panahon na kinailangan niya po ito. Ngayon, ironically, he's the one executing the very act which prevented him from being assaulted at the time. Masyado pong nakakabahala na ang nangyayari, Mr. President. I think all these people, I think we can identify all these people in due time. They did not only violate Article 145 of the revised penal code, as I earlier manifested. Former Senator Trillanes is even guilty of usurping authority, Mr. President. Hindi natin pwedeng palampasin po ito. In the meantime, I'd like to move, Mr. President, that in the light of the recent adoption of the Senate Resolution number 44, I move that Senator Bato be placed under the Senate Protective Custody, Mr. President, until he is able to get all and exhaust all legal remedies to protect himself, and until this institution is also able to do just the same. Mr. President, Article 59 of Rome Statute is very, very clear. It's very, very clear. Even for the sake of an argument that there is a valid warrant of arrest against our colleague, Article 59 still states that the person to be arrested must be promptly delivered to a competent judicial authority in order to accomplish at least three things. Number one, to identify or to ascertain the identity of the person being arrested. Number two, whether the processes, the legal processes have been observed. And number three, whether or not his rights were protected. This is very, very important for purposes of protecting the due process and the rule of law, which our colleague can avail, Mr. President.
The motion is consistent with our rules, is consistent with Senate Resolution number 44, is consistent with precedence. So is there any objection? If not, the motion is carried.
Mr. President,
So consistent with past practices, no? Senator Bato will enjoy the protection of the law and the protection of the Senate in accordance with our rules and with Philippine laws. No?
thank you. Mr. President, may I have the floor, Mr. President?
Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. President, as I was looking and watching the CCTV, Mr. President, I recall, Mr. President, every time we have a committee hearing, any member of the Senate would move to cite in contempt someone who is lying, Mr. President. So my position, Mr. President, looking at what happened to our dear colleague, and I'm gonna do this, Mr. President, whether you are in majority or minority, you are an elected official, Mr. President. And for someone, especially coming from a different agency of the government, trying to do something like that in violation of Article 147, Chapter 2 of our revised penal code, Mr. President. Maybe, Mr. President, it is the right time for us, while we are having a session, to cite in contempt these individuals trying to prevent Senator Bato de la Rosa from reporting for work to do his job as elected senator of the Republic of the Philippines. So, Mr. President, if it is a proper motion, and I would leave this to the body, that we cite in contempt these individuals, Mr. President, that would be identified in this particular video, trying to block, trying to prohibit Senator Bato de la Rosa from doing his job, Mr. President.
Yes.
I submit, Mr. President, to the wisdom of the
Is there any objection
majority.
to holding the John and Jane Does, who will be laterly identified in accordance with the CCTV, to hold them in contempt of Senate, of
Then,
the Senate?
Mr. President, I was suggesting, Mr.